Next, he is no stranger. In fact, back in 2019, when we last met in Indianapolis, he was there. He was a candidate for the presidency. Now he comes as head of the Department of Transportation, which is going to be central to the execution of the jobs and infrastructure plan passed by the Congress and signed by the president. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the National Urban League, the Secretary of Transportation, Pete Buttigieg.
Thank you, and good morning. It is good to be back with the Urban League. It is good to be back in 3D with the Urban League. And I want to thank Mark Morial. Always a good idea to put a mayor in charge. And I want to thank everyone in the leadership and the staff, the team here at the Urban League, and all of you for the chance to join you. The Urban League's leaders, legendary names like Lester Granger, Whitney Young, Vernon Jordan, shaped the course of the 20th century and have done so much here in the 21st as well. This is an organization whose record speaks for itself. In the past decade alone, thanks to your work, millions of people have been able to find jobs, to buy homes, to secure health care, to get world-class educations, to get the support that they need during the pandemic, and so much more. For over a century, the Urban League has been guided by a clear and simple mission, which is to empower and uplift communities that have too often been left behind. And as a proud member of the Biden-Harris administration cabinet, I'm here to speak very briefly about how our administration and how my department is working toward that same goal. And then I'll end by reflecting just a little bit on where you come in. Now, you just heard from a colleague from the Department of Justice, and I will acknowledge that when you think about the issue of justice, you will sooner think of a department like the DOJ than a department like the Department of Transportation. But from the Underground Railroad to the Montgomery bus boycott, there has always been a deep relationship between the physical movement of people in their communities, the dignified and affordable access, or lack thereof, to transportation in American communities, and the question of justice in our nation. And we take our responsibilities toward that question very seriously. We know that good transportation can empower and it can connect. We also know that transportation dollars, if they are used in the wrong way, can do just as much to harm and to divide. So we know that we have work to do. When we visit black communities in Baltimore or New Orleans or Birmingham, and all of them can point to physical infrastructure that actually cut off neighborhoods, separated people from jobs and resources, we know that we have a responsibility to do something about that. When we see the asthma and hospitalization rates letting us know that black and brown children are more likely to breathe polluted air because of how transportation interacts with where they live, we know we have a responsibility and an opportunity to do something about it. When residents in the city limits of Chicago on the south side in a neighborhood called Roseland need more time to get to downtown Chicago within the limits of their own city if they don't have a car than people who live 90 miles away in a community called Roseland, Indiana, we know that we have work to do and we've got to do something to fix that. And when the investments do come to a neighborhood or a community that has been left out again and again and again, and somebody's walking down the street in their neighborhood and they see that the work is finally happening, and they look a little bit closer at who's wearing the hard hats and the construction vests in those good-paying jobs, and nobody there looks like they came from anywhere near the neighborhood where the work is being done, we know that we have work to do. And the good news is this president and this administration have shown up to do that good work. After decades of promises in this town, President Biden delivered a bipartisan infrastructure law with generational investments in jobs and transportation, and we're going to do it the right way. We are getting down to work building safer roads and better transit, cleaner school buses, so that black commuters and Latino children and everybody who counts on transportation can get around safely and breathe clean air. We're getting to work making transportation more affordable so that everyone can get to work, can get to the grocery store, can visit family without breaking the bank. When you see that van always in the parking lot of the church, and you think about how they have come together to make it possible for people who otherwise wouldn't be able to even get to worship to do so, I admire the way that the community has come together to make that happen, but they shouldn't have to. And that's the kind of thing we can do something about with the right kinds of investments in communities. We are also getting to work reconnecting the communities that were divided in the past by transportation infrastructure. So the previous generation saw their neighborhoods bulldozed to make room for a new highway. They can once again be connected to the social and economic life in their community. And just as importantly, and this is a big part of where the Urban League comes in, it's not just about the projects getting done, it is about the opportunity to be part of those projects. So I want you to know that just in the last few hours, we put forward in the Federal Register a proposed change to our disadvantaged business enterprise programs, which is going to help more of these transportation dollars get to those who need the jobs the most. Some of the improvements that we're proposing include less red tape when it comes to certification from one state to another, stronger prompt payment monitoring, and increasing that personal net worth limit that has made some businesses feel too big to be small and too small to get big. These are the kinds of things we're working on, and it is open for comment right now, so please weigh in. We recognize the obligation and the opportunity to create more business outlook and connection for local business owners who never had that seat at the table, and hiring people who actually live in the communities where projects are being built. Just a few weeks ago, I was in Los Angeles, where there's a program called Hire LAX, training people from the same zip code as the airport, some of whom in a previous life have been without housing or involved in the criminal justice system, and now standing tall and making good money that they can raise a family on with jobs in construction and building the infrastructure of the future. Jobs with higher wages, better benefits, safer workplaces, the kinds of jobs that you can build a living and a livelihood on. Now, I'll confess, in the work that we're doing, we have found that not everybody is prepared to hear about justice and equity in the context of transportation. As if transportation is somehow uniquely immune to the impacts of patterns of exclusion and racial injustice that have touched every other part of our society. So I just want to make clear, we're not the ones looking for culture wars. We're just trying to do what's right, healing the broken places in our country. Connecting divided communities is not divisive. A railroad that creates a so-called wrong side of the tracks, that's what's divisive, and that's what we got to do something about. Other people are out there deciding what books they want to ban. We're here deciding what bridges we're going to build. That's what we're about in this administration. But we can't do this alone. And as one of the oldest civil rights organizations in the country, the Urban League has been at the vanguard of these struggles for longer than any of us has been alive. The organization that helped black families build new lives after the Great Migration, helped plan the March on Washington, and today we need you again. We spent so much of last year getting the infrastructure law passed and signed, but the truth is, even though we are setting the basic parameters for how so many of these dollars will be spent, and yes, choosing many of the projects, the majority of the decisions about the majority of the dollars are going to be made closer to home by state and local authorities and officials, and too often they aren't engaging the communities that they most need to engage. Don't get me wrong, we will hold the projects that we fund to civil rights standards, to public engagement standards, and to every standard you would expect of taxpayer dollars. But that should only be the floor. And we're looking to you to lift the ceiling. And the Urban League is uniquely able to do that because you can mobilize your local Urban League networks to show up at those public meetings where these decisions are being made and make their voices heard. And the great thing about these local processes is that you can show up and make your voice heard. Unlike in this town, you can do it whether you get invited or not. We need you at those tables. We need you to sit down with your state and local officials so that that new bridge, that new bike path, that new bus route truly serves your community, both in how it is designed and in who gets the opportunity to be part of that. We need you to work with us to make sure that this time is better than ever before, that the benefits of this investment reach every community, every neighborhood, every person who needs it. And I know that none of us will rest until that work is done. Thank you for your partnership. Thank you for the chance to join you, and I will see you out in your communities. Thanks very much.